You are watching the Toilet Paper Diaries. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Dave.
Hello, Ernesto.
Anyway, we are today having an interesting show about branding and finding your voice. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people are struggling, and not only entrepreneurs, not only speakers, not only people which are working for the first time from home. But you know, they even restaurants. There's so many people which are still finding it difficult to
adjust.
And I think this is one of those things that I wanted to show today, because I think it just puts everything into perspective. We're right now entering a new historical divide, BC and AC. And this is an article in the New York Times from Thomas Friedman, which is one of my favorite authors. Yeah. And he says that right now we are the world before coronavirus, and AC it's after coronavirus. And I think that's just simply the way that we have to see stuff, because right now, whatever we were doing in the past, we are completely uncertain if it's actually going to come back to how it was, and whatever it is in the future, we do not know what's going to be happening. And just before we got started, you were giving me some shocking statistics about what's happening here in the US.
Yeah, it was an article I was watching on one of the news programs, and saying something like 70% of people in the US are unprepared for working from home. So they're used to going to the office, all the equipment's there, the job is there, whether they're making sandwiches or they're driving a bus, they can't work from home because their job is not digital. And so that's one of the reasons we're getting so many people becoming unemployed, because if they're running a small business, they can't get in to tend to whatever it is they look after, and things just run to rot. I mean, we've just had a new change in Dubai. What was a 24-hour lockdown with the ability to go and get a permit if you need to go shopping, or you need to go to the doctors or the pharmacy. To make sure it's even stronger now, you can only go to the shops every three days. So you have to plan it properly, apply, and then wait 3 days before you get back. And I mean, as frustrating as that can be, especially if you're thinking, oh, I should have bought more milk. I'm actually grateful, because they wouldn't be doing it by accident. They're doing it because they really want to tighten up that net to make sure that people don't mess about. And so that's it. I mean, if you're going to go to the ATM to get some money out, every 5 days you're allowed to go. That's it. And you got to go to an ATM which is near your district, so you're literally almost walking distance. So they're clamping down on it, and that's what's keeping people safe.
And you know, we were also talking a little bit earlier about, and this feeling, I had it actually for the first time this morning. I mean, I was feeling like if I was in Groundhog Day. I mean, it's just we start in the routine, and it starts, but it's exactly like if I am reliving yesterday, and I actually relived the day before, and I relived before. And then you confirmed with me that you were also feeling very similarly to what I was feeling.
It's a big challenge, and there's a reason why we wear different T-shirts every time we sit down. Otherwise, it would just incredibly be like Groundhog Day, not just for us, but for everybody else. And I'll tell you one of the things I use, I mean, for changing the T-shirt, I'm not saying it's a big glamorous T-shirt. I'm wearing it because it's clean. But when you edit the videos, as we do, to put them on social media after we finish this live broadcast, you really need to make sure that you check to see that it's a different T-shirt that we're wearing from the video you last looked at. Because this is episode 28, done in 28 days. There's a blurring of all the edges. I'm sure that's true for anybody who's watching as well. I mean, there'll be people who are tuning in and watching us and going, if you don't turn up, I would go to Netflix and never come back again. Well, don't. We're here. So there you go.
So anyway, I mean, I can understand if we are feeling like that. I am sure that other people are also feeling like that. And there's also several things that we haven't been able to report. But anyway, we'll talk about that in another episode. I think it's important that we just dive a little bit into what we were thinking about covering today. So let me just share some of the funny things that I found, and of course I messed it up again. Here I am with the controls. Let's see if I get it back here. If not, we'll have to move over. No,
all right. Today's show is brought to you by Nescafe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So as we can see here right now, we have been going. We started with the toilet paper, and we started going through all the different things on how and right now we are getting into the coloring of the hair. I mean, all the ladies are getting a little bit desperate because they cannot find hair coloring, and I really wonder what's going to be the next thing that we're going to be requiring. I mean, we have gone from there's no toilet paper to there's no hand sanitizer to there's no this, there's no that, and right now we're entering the week that there's no hair coloring, and it's just very interesting to see how every week things are changing into what is actually missing in the marketplace. And this is exactly where I want you to start thinking a little bit on finding your voice. So first of all, sure, I mean, we didn't have the toilet paper, and this is exactly where we were born with the name, the Toilet Paper Diaries. I mean, right now, we talk about the Toilet Paper Diaries, and it sounds like a really weird name, but at the moment when we actually got started with this, it was the most appropriate moment. I mean, possibly if we would have waited a week, possibly this will be the hand sanitizer diaries. And right now, it would be the hair coloring diaries. So if we're going to be talking about branding, we have to start seeing the world into before coronavirus and after coronavirus, so that we will be able to be more accurate in how we're going to be doing things. And right now, the reason why we didn't really want to talk exactly about the word branding, but more than anything, finding your voice, is because before you can actually brand yourself, you need to find the exact voice that you're going to be using to communicate with people. And remember, always think on a timeline. Whatever happened before coronavirus, that is just time gone. That is just an anecdote. That is just something that passed. Right now, we have also DC time, which is during coronavirus, and then we're going to have to go after coronavirus.
Absolutely. Something that came to mind just then, about just moving slightly back before we go back into this subject again, is, do you remember that movie Super Size Me with Morgan Spurlock, where he decided that he'd just eat the same thing, McDonald's, to see how long he could last on it, and eventually things started going very, very badly wrong with him. I think we're going to have that on your chart of things that are going to be what people talk about, whether it's any fast food or the food that we're eating. I think that's going to have a knock-on effect. If you don't have exercise and eat lots of vegetables, then that's going to catch up with people's health. Just throwing it in there. Now, talking about branding and talking about the importance of finding your voice, I think the most important thing for that is, as we're talking over the shows about fast forward and reinvention, you have to also work out who you are going to be before you can share it with the outside world. We'll be talking more about that throughout the show, but that means deep diving into your own personality. But before you're ready to do that, you have to be ready to face that person that's in the mirror, because sometimes there's some horrible stuff that you gloss over that people notice that you don't know, but it's the elephant in a room that people don't pay attention to. So we'll be covering a lot of that with the steps of branding, and also how to use social media too.
Tracy Zimmerman is telling us that blondes are not having so much fun because, of course, I mean, they cannot get their hair coloring. So that is indeed one of the things that we're actually facing. So if we start moving forward and we think, well, we have to start thinking about how we're going to be positioning ourselves. Right now, the worst positioning that you can get, it is you thinking that everything is about you. And this is one of the things that we have been recommending over and over. You have to completely remove yourself out of the equation, and you have to start thinking how I can be of value to the organization. So don't talk about how amazing you are. Don't talk about your accomplishments. Don't talk about all the fantastic things that you or your product can do. Talk about what it can do to the people, what it can do to the society, what it can do to the marketplace. How can you help? And that, I think, it's the first and most important thing that you need to understand whenever you're actually trying to decide what your voice is going to be like.
I'd agree with that completely. I think that, I mean, we talked about this yesterday. The only thing that matters is what's in it for them. It doesn't matter what's in it for you. And the marketplace is changing at such a rate that what you think might be important might have zero interest for people around you when we come out of the other side. So if you have an ear to the ground and an eye on social media, let's face it, you have to look at the trends that are going on worldwide and pay attention to the news, but not too much, more about the trends of the news. Then you'll have a better idea about where the world is going. And that way you can fit something to the people that are going to be in that world when we arrive at it.
Yeah, you were mentioning that over 70% of the people here in the States cannot really work. And many of them are going to be out of a job. And yeah, I mean, right now, if you are going to, there's going to be, I think there's going to be, as I was explaining earlier, with the metaphor or the cereal, I mean, there's going to, I mean, a lot of the big companies are going to reconsolidate, but there's going to be a lot of different little industries, little opportunities, little things which are going to be happening there. And some people that were really reticent and really against being in social media, they're going to have to understand that that's just a way to be seen. I mean, right now I have been looking, because I'm looking constantly for different contents to include on the show, and I see what's going on in TikTok. Right now I'm starting to get TikTok, believe it or not. I am following what's going on in Instagram. I am following what's going on Facebook. I'm following what's going on in LinkedIn. And what I think it's incredibly interesting, it's the different kind of content which is posted right now in Instagram and TikTok, and what is posted in Facebook and what is posted in LinkedIn. LinkedIn and Facebook, it's only for all farts like us.
I know it is.
I mean, and what happens is that it's our generation, the one which is lagging, the ones which are the more lost. Because if we go to TikTok, if we go to Instagram, we see that people are getting it. So here's my invitation to you. If you are a baby boomer, or if you are a Gen X, like Dave and I are, you need to start looking at what other platforms are doing, because that's where you're going to start getting your voice. You're going to have to start getting yourself, and it doesn't matter if it sounds stupid or not. Even if you don't want to participate, at least see what's going on in TikTok, participate on Instagram, and start already showing your voice. And also, same thing happens in LinkedIn, and also happens in Facebook. Dave, you did an interesting experiment with a video yesterday that you uploaded, basically with the purpose of branding in preparation for this show. So possibly you can tell them what exactly the experiment was, and then we show them the video.
Yeah, I wanted to create a video that I could use on LinkedIn that would be shorter than 60 seconds, so people will watch it. It had to be something that was effective, something that was visual, so with or without sound, people would be intrigued about it. It had to look quite beautiful, and it also had to tell people a message that they would find important enough to share it with their friends and retain it and find important. I looked at a load of content I had, because what we do is we create these international events where we help people to put their show reels together. This one was actually coming from an event I did for ADNOC in Abu Dhabi, who are one of the huge world oil and gas companies. And they had these incredible wide windows looking out onto the Abu Dhabi Corniche. And it's incredible. When you stand right in front of the window, you're in shadow. So I created a video, put a voiceover next to it, and then I threw it out there to see what people would like. And I knew that it would reach people because I called it Stay Safe. And I said, outside can wait. Very much important for people about the message and the frustration that they're feeling. I wasn't trying to sell anything. I didn't put a link about, buy my stuff afterwards. All I was just sharing was, I'm there with you. Here's something nice to make you feel good. The music's relaxing. And I just want to prove a point that it doesn't matter who we are, we can get out of it. One thing you'll notice at the beginning of the video is I put a disclaimer saying recorded before the lockdown in Abu Dhabi. Now, this is very important. You could have such a massive backlash if it looks like you're traveling around, breaking the quarantine and being seen to do stuff with people. If you're there with a number of people all together, it's going to look like you've broken the social media, the social distance. And that will make people say, why am I stuck in quarantine? And you're flaunting it. Who do you think you are? So the content had to tick all those boxes. And so far, it's had about 7,000 views. I posted it this morning. It's been about, say, 13 hours, which is not bad considering the amount of competition that's going on right now on all platforms, because people are sitting at home and just posting. So have a look, see what you think. The world outside can wait. Business, finance, the world economy, they can all get better, but you get one life. Your friends, your family are far more precious than that. Stay in safe, connect, empathize, and think about the future. And someday soon, we'll all step out together. So there we go. And very simple, short video, just to prove a point. Thank you. And the response has been great. A lot of people have resonated with exactly the message. Very low key, very chilled out. And if it was on TikTok, I'd have to be dancing. With this one, I can stand around.
So yeah, it is. I have to be dancing. But anyway, it is very interesting to see the response that you're getting right now. So this is, if we think about it, we're going to talk about the 9 steps of what you need to do in social media. But what is very important is that you bear in mind, right now we are during coronavirus. So this is DC time. Once again, if it is BC, before coronavirus, just forget about what we were doing before. During coronavirus, people are using a lot of funny content, like, for example, this video, which is very funny. But we're gonna also say, well, what's the pro and the con about using funny stuff? I mean, of course, you don't want everything to go viral. That's in reality. We don't want anything to go viral, because the virality, yeah, a lot of people get to see it, but it just basically wears off very fast. So right now, let's watch this video, because this video is very funny, and we're gonna have a good time with it. But it's already about 5 or 6 days old, and everybody has seen it. And right now, this in reality has very little value. And the reason why we're mentioning this is because we want to make sure that you understand the reason why we don't have to go viral all the time. Have a look.
Puedes hacer bíceps, sacas de ahí. Ah, no, es el...
We have very different senses of humor. It is funny. Well, it's funny, but it's also painful. And you've got to catch the right kind of mood for people to give you empathy and sympathy, or people to be horrified by it. And it really depends. You've got to catch exactly the right mood for everybody. I mean, if you try and use humor, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. And it doesn't matter whether you're a good practitioner of it or not. It's just that sometimes the audience is ready to receive it. So generally being warm works better than being funny. So what has to happen with videos like that is they catch an audience and they're hilarious and people laugh at it. But what can also happen is then they judge where it came from, and they make a decision on you and your personality and your sense of humor to see if that aligns with a key element, which is, would I buy from somebody who likes that kind of video? And so be very careful about the stuff that you put out there, because If people think that you laugh at everything and they do business with you, what happens if there's a problem with your content or your servicing or what you produced, and then you just laugh at them in the face and think it's funny? That's a real fear, subconsciously and otherwise. Just get that balance right with everything you post.
Yeah, it's the same thing as a little bit with politics. You need to be, humor is something that, of course, you can use, but it is just depending on how it is used. I mean, recently, actually happened yesterday, Kellyanne Conway made a very interesting remark while doing a press conference or whatever it was. She said, well, you know, right now we should know how to deal with COVID-19 because it's not COVID-1. Implying that we have had already 18 COVID situations, which of course, I mean, one thing doesn't have to do with the other. And of course, I mean, that became a big laughing stock from everybody. So we have to be really careful every time with what we say, with what we do, with what we're doing, because of course, if not, we will not be able to position ourselves. And once again, you need to take into consideration the timeline. During coronavirus, in my experience, I mean, so far, and this is not only my experience, but this is also Dave's experience, this is the kind of content that is resonating the most with people. Let me just show you a meme that I created recently. It's a picture of me with my family and Boris the dog, and it says there, my favorite part of quarantine is who I get it to spend it with. And then my name underneath. I mean, on that post in all the different platforms in social media, everybody resonated with that kind of post. And the reason why people resonate with that kind of post is if people do have a family, they resonate with that because, of course, it is like that. If they don't have a family, they see that we're a together family, and they want to connect with us. And if they are by themselves, they just feel warm because of actually seeing someone else. So that's just a very powerful way to show it, and it has to be simple things. It doesn't have to be really complicated, but just have to be simple things. The other one that I just created, which I think is also very powerful, is have you ever noticed that when you're growing emotionally, you don't criticize, you don't forgive more? Sorry, we forgive more, we sleep better, we are more empathic, we help others, we are more patient. We stop judging. And I think this is also very important because it is identifying the way that people would like to feel. Even if they are not feeling like that, they would like to feel like that.
I agree with you. I was just missing you, unfortunately, with the internet feed a little bit there on what you're talking about. But you can't please everybody all the time. You have to make a judgment call on who you think you will be resonating with and how you will reach them and what it is that you want to get as a message across to them. Some people will find the stuff that you love not interesting at all. Like you mentioned about the family picture, what you've got to realize is people with a family will understand that completely, but some people who hate their family and hate being stuck inside will find that like nails down a chalkboard. Some people who are single might say, I miss my family. And some people might say, yeah, it's okay for you. You've got a beautiful family, but I haven't got that at all. You've got to run the whole thing and make a judgment call. And also, I think it matters with the emotions that you deliver it. You've got to be benevolent and say, this gift to you, please take it away. So it's easy to turn and say, look at my family, they're great, aren't they? And some people will say, yeah, my family's great as well, fantastic. But some people will say, well, who are you to talk about it? So I think you've got to get the right kind of balance of it. And I love that with your memes there, you get it just right in both of them.
Yeah, it's just a way of saying it. So now if we actually go into the 9 points, and this is something that we're going to be covering, Dave and I together, I think it's just very interesting that how are we going to work with our strategy? So once again, we have the during the coronavirus and then after the coronavirus. So the first thing that we need to do is we're going to establish our goals. As Dave was mentioning earlier, is who do we want to reach? Who's specifically the target market that we want to appeal to? Right now, this show, we are making it, even though that it looks like if it is open for everybody and what we're saying, it's good for everybody. Our goal, more than anything, it's event organizers, it is event planners, it is speakers, and it is entrepreneurs. So we have already a very clear idea of who we're going to be talking to. Now, later on, when we go into the second step of the Toilet Paper Diaries, the fast forward, then we're going to really go to step number 2, which is pointing exactly who is going to be the audience. There, we're going to be focusing a lot more into speakers and entrepreneurs. We're going to basically narrow it down. And then that's exactly when you're going to start defining how your voice is going to be. And Dave, possibly you can take it from 3 and 4, and then I go from 5 to 6.
Sure. Well, when it comes to building the processes, you have to work out exactly what you're going to be doing to get yourself along there. Because it is a science, and some people are fantastic at doing it, and some people look like they do it by accident, but they actually know exactly what it is that they're doing. Influencers have created a whole new world and a whole new science that gets them out there, actually cheating the normal celebrity route of being noticed, because you're connected and you've been in something special just by creating an audience. And I remember watching Ty Lopez and Grant Cardone on stage recently in Dubai, and they were sharing with the audience the fact that it actually is better to buy an audience through Google ads and Facebook ads than it is to try and build it organically. So it's interesting that they would say that because of the fact it's just faster and more cost effective. So building your processes and how you're going to do it is very important. Of course, defining your voice gives you a platform that you're going to be working from, and then launching your campaign. Putting the stuff out there is very important. Now, here's one of the things that's so challenging for many is right now, many people have gone, I don't have a brand. Nobody knows me on social media. Hello, how are you? And so what we find is, certainly I've found it on LinkedIn, but I'm sure it's the same with Instagram and all the other platforms. The news feeds are full of people starting from scratch to say, here I am, please love me, please like me. Now, here's a challenge with that. When you start sharing content with people, there's a thing called clickbait. And clickbait is something that people see as a shiny object that makes them go, wow, that's funny, or that's cool, or that's amazing. And they like it, which makes you feel that you're getting popular. But the problem is, if that's not on point with the actual campaign of your business, then you're going to get a load of people interested in you who have interested in what you share, but would never buy from you because it's a million miles away from what your actual business is. So you have to think about launching a campaign and put the content together that means it's relative to what they want. And also bear in mind with that when you do it, you have to be able to monetize it by creating that relationship. If you throw it out there and people don't think you're an expert because they don't see any reason why you would be better than anybody else, then you're going to waste your time doing it.
So now let's talk about point number 6, which is determine your post frequency. And this is an interesting one because, I mean, either you can post either a lot or you can just not post that much. Right now, I am seeing an overwhelming amount of emails that people are sending me trying to sell stuff. So I don't really want to stay abreast with those kind of things. I have unsubscribed for so many people because I'm sick and tired of receiving sales emails. So right now, my focus is on social media, and I am focusing on LinkedIn. Interesting enough, what we are doing, I mean, you can see the frequency in how we are doing it. We are doing this show once per day. And people are already getting used to seeing us. We're also posting once per day the show in most of the in the different social media platforms, and we are getting, I mean, between 1,700 to 2,100 views per day per episode. And this is just basically, we're already getting that specific level. So we know that is our posting structure. Now, we are already thinking, shall we start posting other things? And we don't want to confuse the market. I mean, we're not right now focusing on the Toilet Paper Diaries. We test, as Dave was doing with his video, he tests one time, he tests another time, but we want to be as specific as possible. And we want to stick to a calendar, which is the next part, create a content calendar. So as you can see, what we are doing is every single day, we have a different topic. We discuss about it, we talk about it, we know what's going to happen. So for example, tomorrow, we're going to be talking about cybersecurity with one of our experts, Frank Mulcahy, which is going to be there. On Saturday, we have a very interesting program coming, which I will tell you a little bit afterwards. So basically what we are doing is we create a calendar. We know what's going to be posted on a single day, because it is exactly the strategy that we are using.
One thing I wanted to add to the post frequency is also knowing what time of day your audience is paying attention, because like every post, you have to make sure it's got a snowballing effect and it's got to reach the right people at the right time in the right country. So then following influencers is key, because you also want to know what the big boys are doing, the big girls are doing, because the more you connect with them, the more that you get on the radar of the people who are very similar to you. So when you know what it is that you're doing with your content, with your ideas, and the audience you want to reach, and you know that somebody's already got that bigger audience and you want to piggyback off the back of them, create a relationship with them, get on their radar, whether it's Twitter or it's Instagram. Many of them are keen to respond to you. So when you start creating that relationship, even with their followers, people will notice. But it does mean that you've got to work hard to get on their radar. And the final thing is, again, scheduling the engagement time, not just putting your post out at a certain time and how many times you need to put it. Now, one of the things that was said to me a long, long time ago, it was more about email marketing, is how often should you post? And the question is similar to saying to a loved one, how often should you say to your partner or somebody that you care about, I love you? Is it every day? Is it every minute? Is it whenever it occurs to you? Is it once a week, depending on how your relationship is? That's pretty much what you got to look at. So when we're scheduling the engagement time, that's key as well. How many times a day do you want to post? What time of day do you want to do it? And of course, there's lots of software available for you to pre-program your content. Like Buffer, for instance, you can put it in there and leave it, and it will leak the stuff out at the right time, sometimes across many different platforms for you. So you can automate a huge chunk of it, so you only have to worry about doing it in one time. But it's always important to keep an eye on it in case you see the numbers going up and down. But the key thing to all this is not to think about the huge numbers that the crazy, super popular influencers get. It's thinking about the ones that you can monetize and the relationship that you can turn into a business. Because somebody might have huge numbers, but nobody would buy from them, which has been shown by many influencers who brought out a clothing line and nobody bought the t-shirt that they were trying to flog to the outside world. What you're after is to align it all together. People like you, they trust you, they like your content, they enjoy watching it, and they've seen enough of it to know this is somebody I can trust. And ultimately, as you probably realized, one of the reasons that Ernesto and I put in the effort to broadcast same time every day, and we're almost reaching 30 episodes, is because we want to give that consistency. Like when people see us and say, we'd like to do some business with you, we've also sorted out in their heads, not only do we deliver, but we're there for you on point like we say we do. And that's one of the key things that you need to think about when you're posting. Let people see you when you've got them right, and they'll also remember, and will assign that thought that you are somebody they can trust in business as well.
Yeah, on that, on the point also on follow the influencers, you can learn so much out of the newer generations. That's why I'm saying, I mean, I invite you, if you're a Gen X or if you're a baby boomer, get yourself at least to follow what's going on in TikTok, at least to follow what's going on in Instagram, and try to understand how these new generations are seeing the world. Right now, immediately, and actually it was just the day after the first show from Trevor Noah, from Stephen Colbert happened, same as they did, we were already with the Toilet Paper Diaries. Right now, this Saturday, there's going to be something very interesting, which is called One World Together at Home. This is organized by Lady Gaga. It's going to be hosted by Stephen Colbert. It's going to be hosted by Jimmy Fallon. It's going to be hosted by Jimmy Kimmel. Everybody from their own home, and this is just basically the way that things are falling with the influencers. I mean, we see all the celebrities at home. They are doing their videos. They're doing everything, and most of the people which are at home that could do the same thing because they have the possibilities of doing the same thing, they're still doing what they were doing when before the pre-coronavirus. And this is quite interesting because if you see just a little bit underneath, which well, you cannot see on these posters, all the brands, I mean, the amount of sponsors that they have, it's just insane. And right now what is going on is people are contacting us just to see about sponsorship on this show. So imagine, a month ago, we had no idea that we were going to be doing the Toilet Paper Diaries. We immediately acted. We started following what big celebrities were doing. And right now we are in a very similar position, in a lower scale, obviously, but in a very similar position that all these great celebrities. And it is just phenomenal. If you understand how everything is going and where everything is doing, you can start thinking already how your strategy post-coronavirus is going to be.
One of the things I loved about that thing that's coming up on Saturday is Lady Gaga was doing the rounds of being interviewed by Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon and Stephen Colbert. And she was saying about how important the charity is and how it's giving back to people who are working on the front line. And she said, but we don't want your money. We've already got the money. Just enjoy the concert. So it's quite clear that the sponsors are finding the angle and choosing to jump on board. Another one that I'd like to talk about, which is a hero that we brought through yesterday, Captain Tom. We talked about him yesterday. This guy's 99 years old. At the end of the month, he's going to be 100 years old. He's a British guy, Captain Tom Moore. He's a Second World War veteran. And what he's decided to do is with his Zimmer frame, I mean, he's an old guy with a Zimmer frame and he moves along like that. He does laps around his nursing home. And he wanted to raise a load of charity money for the National Health Service in the UK. I don't know if we've got access to a picture of this, Ernesto. National Health Service in the UK, where basically the nurses are on the front line. They need more money, more support, more help. And so what happened was the nation picked up on it. And you get a perfect storm. This gentleman and his brand. He's an old guy, going to be 100 at the end of the month. He's doing walks around with his Zimmer frame to raise money for charity. The charity is specific. It's to help the nurses and the people who are the soldiers fighting for this war against the coronavirus. And so what happened is he started it going, had a target of reaching about £1 million, hit that, hit 3 million. We talked about it yesterday that it hit 5, and then it went to £6.5 million. He managed to raise in such amount of time. Since yesterday, now this is 24 hours since we broadcast, he's now reached £12 million just by going around. And if you Google it, you'll see him with all the soldiers giving him a gun salute. As this little guy just walks along with his Zimmer frame, doing an incredible job. There's a perfect storm right now for your business and for your relationship. And it might not be to sell, it might be to give. But people will remember that. And the positioning that you give yourself, if you do it the right way, will last for you as somebody that they remember afterwards, as opposed to somebody that tried to steal our money during the time that comes after the virus.
Talking about that, Dave, we are having right now one of our correspondents all the way from Australia.
Hi, Dave and Ernesto. Coming back to you from Sydney, Australia. Just wanted to show you this beautiful view this time in the morning, and just to say that your Toilet Paper Diaries are absolute inspiration. There's just so many positives that come out of it. So a little bit of update what's happening in Sydney. The curve seems to have flattened in Sydney. They're not relaxing any restrictions at this stage. It's just a process. But I suppose probably the one little message that I want to share with your diaries is the word adaptability. And that is just, how much we need to adapt to the current set of circumstances that we're in. It's so easy for us to lie down and play dead. And it's just so easy for us just to say, well, look what's happened. Look how devastating this is. But there's a thing called adapt. Adapt or die. So this is the opportunity to adapt, and you have used this word in your last episode, which is reinvent yourself. So it's just about adapting, reinventing yourself, and readjusting to what one can do. And there we are, back to the studio from Sydney, Australia.
Fantastic, Roy. Thank you so much for that. And it looks beautiful. I haven't been on a beach for about 2 months now. It feels like longer. And you're very lucky that you haven't got such a strong clampdown as we have here. But hey, it's all for a good cause, and I've no complaints at all.
Yeah, let's see what's going on in the view of some superstar and celebrities in the
from a secret
self-awareness. In this, yeah, we have from exactly 2 big celebrities from The Secret. So let's see what's going on with Joe Vitale.
Back in the 1970s, when I was homeless, I looked at the world and I thought it was a pretty scary place. It was me against the world, and it was stacked in its favor. I didn't really have a chance. I was trying, but boy, I was desperate and I was sad and I really struggled. Today, decades later, I look out into the same universe, but I see abundance, I see prosperity, I see opportunities. What's different? What's different is me. All the work I did on myself, all the books I've read, all the audios that I listened to, all the events that I went to, all of the processes I did, all of the meditations I've done, all of the events that I attended, all of the gurus I studied with, all of it helped brainwash my mind in a positive way. Now, this is available to you. If you're struggling right now, you do have a choice. Surround yourself with the good. Feed yourself with the positive. Meditate, be grateful, and expect miracles.
And people like Joe Vitale, who I've been following for many, many years, have been experts in that industry. And it surprises me that it's a crazy number. 3% of people are into personal development. Everybody else just goes shopping, watches TV, complains, and buys themselves a brand new bag or a pair of shoes. Only 3% take charge of their lives and say, look, what I've got in front of me is a bit rubbish. Maybe it's me that has to fix it. How do I start? Most people don't try or don't even know that that's a question that they can be asking.
We're just about to close the show. I just wanted to show this video that was that I actually translated myself yesterday because it's in Spanish, but it has undertitles, and it's all these Spanish-speaking celebrities that are finding their message. And that's why I would like to show this just before we go. Have a look.
Cuando la tormenta pase
y se amancen los caminos
y seamos sobrevivientes
de un naufragio colectivo,
con el corazón lloroso
y el destino bendecido,
nos sentiremos dichosos
tan solo por estar vivos.
Y le daremos un abrazo
al primer desconocido
y alabaremos la suerte
de conservar un amigo.
Entonces recordaremos
todo aquello que perdimos.
De una vez aprenderemos
todo lo que no aprendimos.
Y no tendremos envidia,
pues todos habrán sufrido.
Y no tendremos desidia.
Seremos más compasivos.
Valdrá más lo que es de todos
que lo jamás conseguido.
Seremos más generosos
y mucho más comprometidos.
Entenderemos lo frágil
que significa estar vivos.
Sudaremos empatía
por quien está y quien se ha ido.
Extrañaremos al viejo
que pedía un peso en el mercado,
que no supimos su nombre
y siempre estuvo a tu lado.
Y quizás el viejo pobre
era tu Dios disfrazado.
Nunca preguntaste el nombre
porque estabas apurado.
Y todo será un milagro.
Y todo será un legado.
Y se respetará la vida que hemos ganado.
Cuando la tormenta pase,
te pido, Dios, apenado,
que nos devuelvas mejores,
como nos habías soñado.
Beautiful. Very touching.
Yeah, very touching. I mean, I think it's so beautiful that everybody is finding their own voice during the coronavirus, and also they're working on how they're going to be having their voices afterwards. I mean, this reminds me of 1986 Live Aid and that kind of movement. I mean, when we work all together, it's just unbelievable. And I think we have grown so much apart. This is actually bringing us together. And yeah, there's no doubt that we're going to have a world very different after this lockdown.
Absolutely. I felt that in the last 12 months, maybe longer, the world had become a very selfish place. It become very me, and that was reflected by a lot of the news and a lot of different countries, leaders, and so on. I think that this will go one of two ways. It'll either bring the world closer together, or it'll make people use it as an excuse to throw up more borders so they have even less connection with everybody out there. What I do think is true, and we've seen this from some of the super companies like the likes of Amazon and Apple, is these companies are so big, they expand beyond borders. People on these social media platforms are like a whole continent full of people. So if we ever find that for reasons of politics or for whatever reason, people will try and keep us apart from each other, what you'll find is people are already connected. And the beauty of going online and the beauty of social media means that you've got friends all around the world who all feel the same way, that we're better together than we are on our own. And I think that's key.
All right, Dave, it's been a pleasure sharing this episode with you. I think it was interesting for both of us to do it in conjunction, and I think we are helping everybody learning how to find their voice. If you have some questions, if you have some stuff that you want to find out about how to find your voice, please make sure to contact Dave and myself in our websites, either in Ernesto.today or in thedavecrane.com. Remember to go to bit.ly Toilet Paper Podcasts and listen to the podcast. And we see you tomorrow with a great guest talking about cyber security and identity theft.
I can't wait. Go and have a coffee. Enjoy your coffee, Ernesto. Bye-bye.
I'm going to enjoy cleaning my coffee.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.